Initiation's over. Time to join the club. You never grow old, you never die, but you must feed. Hello, my name's Frederick Lopez. Today on the Final Cut, we're going to be going over the 1987 cult classic, The Lost Boys. And no, not these two straight-to-DVD sequels, but the original. It was directed by Joel Schumacher. Yes, that Joel Schumacher. The same Joel Schumacher who did Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. Although it doesn't join that club, it goes right along his films like The Phantom of the Opera from 2005, A Time to Kill, and The Client. It's a really great film. Originally, Richard Donner was going to direct the film The Lost Boys. It was going to have a group of children finding that there's vampires in their town. And he ended up doing The Goonies instead, so then Joel Schumacher came in, and that's where he had the teenagers in the film. It stars Jason Patric as Michael Emerson, as well as the two Coreys. Yes, Corey Feldman and the late, great Corey Haim. Corey Haim plays Sam Emerson, Michael's younger brother. Diane Weiss plays their mother, and Corey Feldman, along with Jameson Newlander, play the Frog brothers. Corey is Edgar Frog, and Jameson Newlander is Alan Frog, named after Edgar Allan Poe. And then Kiefer Sutherland plays the villain, David. In the tribe of the Lost Boys, you have Brooke McCarter as Paul, Billy Wirth as Dwayne, Alex Winter as Marco. You have a young boy named Laddie, played by Chance Michael Corbett, and then Jamie Gertz as Star. In addition, you have Bernard Hughes as the grandpa of the Emersons, and Edward Herman as a video store manager named Max. It starts with Diane Weiss as Lucy Emerson, Michael and Sam's mother, to what's regarded as the first murder capital of the world, Santa Carla, California. She just got recently divorced, and it's just her two sons, so they're new to the area. And they move in with her father, and he's kind of like in that hippie stage. He's kind of weird. He stuffs animals, and in addition, he doesn't have a television set. Sam asks, "Hey, do you have MTV?" And she's like, no TV. And then he finds a TV guide. He's like, when you have a TV guide, you don't need a TV. So he's kind of bored there. Sam and Michael are adjusting. So then it goes to Michael, and him and Sam go to like a beach party. And Michael sees this beautiful young woman named Star, played by Jamie Gertz. Love at first sight, lightning bolt. He basically is chasing after her, seeing where she's going, and Sam's just like, "What are you doing? Did you find someone?" And she's like, "Leave me alone." So Sam goes, he finds this comic book place. He's looking for a Batman number 14. And he finds this comic book place owned by the Frogs. Edgar and Alan Frog introduce themselves, and they also give Sam this book called Vampires Everywhere, and they warn him about a vampire epidemic going around in Santa Carla. Sam kind of debunks it. Michael, on the other hand, talks to Star a bit. Turns out her parents are hippies, and named her Star, but her boyfriend is David, played by Kiefer Sutherland. Now, Kiefer Sutherland is so menacing. He's just great in this. He kind of has an element of cool about him, but yet he can be threatening at the same time. Now, he has a gang of people with Marco and them, and the other actors I mentioned earlier, and they make up the Lost Boys. Now, the reason why it's called the Lost Boys is besides Star, they have this boy named Laddie. Later on in the film, you find out is missing from his parents. So this group of vampires is kind of made up of missing children, hence like the Lost Boys from Peter Pan. Anyway, David challenges Michael to a motorcycle race. They go through it, and then they go to their hideout. And here David's just like playing mind games with Michael and making him see stuff that isn't there. So Michael takes a dare from David to drink a bottle of wine. And long story short, he drinks vampire blood. And he doesn't know that he's becoming a vampire by drinking vampire blood. Later on, Michael starts having side effects, kind of like needs sunglasses, he's sensitive to light, he starts feeling hungry, regular food's not affecting him like it should. He almost tries to kill his brother until their dog, Nanook, stops him. Then Sam finds out that Michael's behaving like a vampire would. From the comic book he's reading from the Frog Brothers, Michael doesn't have a reflection, so Sam starts getting freaked out. Anyways, Sam tells that Edgar and Alan Frog that his brother may be a vampire. He's like, you should kill him or find the head vampire. Meanwhile, we're introduced to Max, who works at a video store. He's a manager at a video store and offers the Emerson's mom a job. Meanwhile, they end up having a romantic story, a romantic interest towards one another. And the grandpa is kind of in and out of the film. He's seeing this woman called the Widow Johnson. And so he's really kind of oblivious, so it seems, to what's going on. Throughout the whole movie, they're trying to figure out who the head vampire is. They even set up a trap for Max with garlic and stuff. And that doesn't work, so Michael asks David, what's going on? What the hell's going on with me? Put him through more tests under a railroad. They're on bridges, and he's freaked out. The mother's starting to worry a bit about Michael. Anyway, you find out that you have to kill the head vampire in order to be normal, and he basically has to go to their hideout. Michael goes to see if David's there again. They're not there. So Star and him are together, and you find out that she is a half vampire like Michael, that her first kill is supposed to be Michael that night at the beach. So then he takes her and Laddie away, while the Frog Brothers, him and Sam, the next day go try to kill the Lost Boys. They successfully kill Marco, but not the other ones, and then narrowly escape from David, who is blocked by sunlight. So that whole third act is them in their house. They end up having the grandpa go see his date, the Widow Johnson, and the mom's out with Max, so they have the house to themselves to fight off against the Lost Boys. Great special effects. Them flying, the final fight is just so great. Not only is it a well-told story, but you hardly have vampires fly. And it's just so cool seeing them like fly in midair and tackle each other and all that stuff. They end up going, killing them each one by one. Lottie and Star and Michael don't feel a change. And now this is where spoiler territory is going to be. Now I'm going to get into spoiler territory here. Let me get to Edward Herrmann. Max as the real head vampire is probably one of the greatest movie twists of all time for a villain. The whole time is leaning towards Kiefer Sutherland as David being the head vampire, but it turns out it's actually Max. And we get hints before when Emerson's mother is attacked with the dog, the watchdog. And that's just so great. And then the ending, and he's like, silly boy, don't you know never to invite a vampire into your home? It renders you powerless. And it's like, everybody knows that. So the grandpa comes in, rescues them, kills Max. And it's just a great ending because they're all just like flabbergasted and stunned that all went on in there. And the grandpa just like gets a beer from the fridge, and it's just like, there's always one thing I never could stomach about Santa Carla. It's like all the damn vampires. And then it just ends with the door closing and the light going off. They're just like stunned because he seems to be oblivious from everything that's going on in the movie, and he in fact knows more than the rest of the characters in the film. But it's a well-told story. Special effects are great. The eye contacts, the vampire teeth, everything. But yeah, the beach scene is just crazy with them vamping out. I love the effects and editing used with just overhead shots and flying shots. They didn't have the special effects to make them fully fly in all the shots, so they just used camera angles. And it kind of makes it more mysterious. You're wondering who's attacking all these people throughout the town. And that just adds another element of horror while also giving an experience of what it's like to be a vampire, to sleep all day, to party all night. Never die. Never know fear again. So Joel Schumacher directed this film. He added a nice layer to it. He kind of made it look really cool, and it was really nice and dark. It was to the traditional vampire rules, even to when Max was just like, "Silly boy, don't you know not to invite a vampire into your home?" It was just crazy. But most of all, the soundtrack. Yes, the soundtrack. Oh my gosh. Jared McMahon's Cry Little Sister is fantastic. All the way from the opening shot of the water onto the carnival. The music, the kids singing is just fantastic. Eerie, dark, vampiric, just all around badass for this film. Lost in the Shadows by Lou Gramm. People Are Strange by The Doors. Just a lot of great music. In Excess, it's just great. And yeah, you even have that saxophone guy. Yeah. That should have been a hint about what's going to happen with Joel Schumacher directing Batman. But Lost Boys is an all-around great horror film. It's you can't even tell it's rated R. It's just so universal. Anybody could watch it. I remember watching The Lost Boys on Sci-Fi Channel back in 1999 after Nightmare on Elm Street 3: Dream Warriors. It works as a horror film because it's not entirely like super scary, but it has enough elements from other horror films that are in it. It's a traditional vampire film, but it has a youthfulness and like edge of newer vampire films, and it's in fact better than newer vampire films. Like everybody's looking at Twilight Vampire Diaries and stuff, and what's appealing about those, I feel like The Lost Boys did first and much better. While it had the edge, while it had the youth, it still remained in the rules of vampire lore originally. Even with Max having to be invited is great. The reflections, everything. It's a really well told story, and that's why I think it makes the final cut. It's a great horror film because not only does it have the elements of vampire films and lore, it has a great soundtrack, but it's a well told story, and we care about the characters. And that's what makes it such a great film in the horror genre, is that it uses all the tropes in the horror films, but it's not like a B movie or a slasher film or just cheap. Like Lost Boys The Tribe is straight to DVD sequel 20 years later. No, Lost Boys, it shows you what you can do with the horror elements and make it something more, make it a bigger story. And that's what I love about it. And Joel Schumacher did great work. You can kind of see his dark nature, and here you see it in his other films like A Time to Kill or The Phantom of the Opera. And even some degree Batman Forever. But just a great classic film, and if I were you, I would totally go see this. Like immediately. Just watch The Lost Boys. You will love it. You love it to death. Seriously. If you're interested in the sequels, the second one's garbage, but it's enjoyable if you're bored. But if I were you, I would skip Lost Boys The Tribe and go straight to Lost Boys The Thirst. But either way, Corey Feldman as Edgar Frog makes the sequels. But I would just stick with the original, and I give The Lost Boys a 5 out of 5 and an A. And it's one of the best 80s vampire films along with Fright Night, if not one of the best vampire films of all time. There's actually characters you care about. There's romance. You even root for the bad guys. David's like a monster. He's a vampire. The Lost Boys are vampires, but you root for them. They're just like, something about them, just like you want to be like one of them. Seriously, check it out. And if you want to, tune in for my next review, The Final Cut, in which I will ask you, what's your favorite scary movie? With Scream from 1996, directed by the late, great Wes Craven. Enjoy, guys. Hope you enjoyed this review.